I'm Angela Kirkian, Director of Education at PPA. And on this episode of In It Together, we get a chance to chat with Nancy Tilburg. We're going to be talking about how to kind of re-envision things now that we're at home and we're getting used to a whole new normal. So Nancy, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I so enjoyed our
Sure.
conversation last week when we were talking about a lot of this stuff, and you're going to be doing some education for us coming up here soon. And I loved our conversation so much. I thought, well, let's share this because it's very encouraging. It's very inspiring for where we are in this moment. Now we're about what is it, like 6 months in? We're all in our 6th month for sure.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
I love hearing you say that. I do. I'm very encouraged hearing you say that because, a lot of people we're at all different levels, and I think some days we're up, some days we're down, and we're feeling everything in between. And so, we do a lot of these conversations that are just about giving yourself the grace to just be, a mess when you need to be a mess, and but you can also be fabulous on the other side of that. So I want to talk to you today a little bit about some of the things that you've been doing, because you've been busy. You've been busy throughout all of this, kind of re-envisioning, reimagining things, and building a business that's really working for you. So tell me, how are things? How are things in Canada?
So in Canada, unfortunately, everything virtually got locked down. So even where I am, I'm in a city with about 110,000, and we service a very large northern community. But with 110,000 people, we've only had 100 cases of COVID to date. There's been one death, unfortunately. But even with those low numbers, everything has been shut down. And now we're starting to see things reopen again. Things have reopened by region, according to the numbers. And it's affected a lot of businesses. There are a lot of empty storefronts right now. Once the patios go inside, I think you'll start to see even more store closures here. It's really been an economic explosion, in terms of blowing up people's businesses, and you have to pivot at this point.
Right.
You have to reimagine, because if there is a second wave, or if it gets worse, we're going to go back to square one where everything is closed, and we've got to be ready for that.
So you've been busy. I know from our conversation the other day that you've been and one of the things that I loved that we talked about was really noticing the things that frustrate you. You have a great title for that. Your alligators, right? So what are those things that you've been kind of getting rid of in all of this? And I love that because we all have those little niggling frustrations every day, but they're not big enough that we deal with them immediately. And yet right now maybe is a good time to start noticing the things that give us frustration and then creating solutions to those problems. What are some of the things that you've been doing?
Well, when your referral to alligators, so I just have to clarify what that means, okay? Because I actually have a friend who has a pet alligator. But I think that in order to function well as a person and as a business, you have to clean your swamp of the alligators that are getting in your way from having a nice, joyride through the rivers. And those alligators, they can be a lot of different things. So for me, if there's a lot of clutter, or if the closet with my supplies isn't organized properly, I find that very frustrating. And it puts me on edge. And whatever small way it might be, it impedes my productivity. So that would be an alligator, cleaning up the clutter, getting rid of things that I don't use, using, if a prop has been sitting there for 10 years and I haven't used it, maybe it's time to either chuck it or sell it. Doing your taxes.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, if you've got the IRS or Revenue Canada hanging over you, wow, that's a huge black cloud to be dealing with on a daily basis. And been there, done that. I would rather stick forks in my eyes than do accounting. So hire somebody. Get somebody to do that and get it done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah, and there are countless other things, that can get in the way of a productive business and a happy life. And those are what I would call alligators. So those have to be cleaned up.
Yeah, I love that. I guess it's been about a year and a half ago, I started realizing one of my alligators were all of the clothes in my closet that were too small.
Yeah, exactly, right?
And so I'm like, okay, I'm cleaning all that up, getting all those out of there because they just cause me frustration every day when I go in there. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to recommend a great book for those of you who are considering that kind of tidying up. It's Marie Kondo. It's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Is just a fantastic. You can listen to it. It's a great Audible book. It's just a great simple read, but it's inspiring and it'll get you moving. If that's something that you're looking at doing, is just cleaning out the clutter and because it does. I think a cluttered space can cause more stress for us at times.
Mm-hmm.
And then also a cluttered mind by having all of those worries.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I love that.
Exactly.
What else are you doing? As far as making changes to your business right now, everybody I know is worried, and dealing with all of the changes that are put upon them that they don't have control over. But you've really taken control of some areas of your business and giving it a new form and structure to some things that I think are serving you much better
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah, I'm much happier with my business now than I was. And just a little backstory. So I was a police officer for almost 30 years, and the last 10 years of my career was in forensic identification. So photography was something that the police department really trained me well in, but it didn't leave me any creative outlet. So I opened up a photography studio on the side, part-time, and started running that amidst my shift work. And it just grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And eventually it got to the point where I had to say, well, do I leave policing early because the business has gotten so big, or do I cut back on the business and stay for another year or two and try to maximize my pension? And when I did the numbers, I found out that the pension, if I left right away, the pension was the equivalent to a pizza a week that I would be losing.
Oh wow.
So I just don't buy the pizza, and I retired. So to run the
Right.
studio full time.
Yeah.
But because the studio had grown up kind of haphazardly part time amidst a full time job, it wasn't as tight or as streamlined as I would have liked. And I tried shooting everything. I tried doing boudoir. I tried shooting volume. I tried doing schools. And I tried getting high school senior programs working. I tried that for 5 years. And let me tell you, high school seniors is not a thing in Canada. When
Mm.
you say high school seniors, most people think of senior citizens.
Right.
And the idea of having a big grade 12 shoot just doesn't happen. People will
Mhm.
spend $600 on a beautiful prom dress for prom, and then take a picture in the driveway with an iPhone with grandpa's old truck in the background somewhere. it's
Right.
yeah, it's just not a thing. And despite trying to get that going, it didn't happen. So because I love working with teenagers, that's one of the things that I really love to do. I had to completely reinvent a high school senior program, and I turned that into a modeling program that is very successful in our studio.
Well, we're excited to hear
Um,
about that, and I'll just give a little heads up. Nancy's going to be doing a webinar for us on her model program here shortly, so look for that. And if you're seeing this on recording, the recording of that will actually go into PPA EDU, so you'll be able to catch that online on ppa.com.
yeah, sweet. So basically what I did during COVID was it was the perfect opportunity to take a look at the swamp and the alligators that I'd created while I was doing the business part-time and restructure it so that I was shooting what I loved,
Mm.
so that I was providing an actual service to the public, because that's very important to me,
Mm-hmm.
and providing clients with work that they would love. So essentially, my business works on a triangle, and I'm kind of at the top of the triangle, although, it's depending on which way you turn it, it's all the same. So I have to be happy, I have to be healthy, I have to be bringing in enough money to put groceries in my fridge. I can't be giving away the work for free. I'm not interested in becoming a millionaire through this, although, that would be nice.
That would be nice.
But yeah, but I truly believe in a fair week's work, so setting the boundaries and maybe working 40 hours a week or 30 hours a week, whatever it is that you feel your boundaries are going to be, and actually doing the work during those hours. And I believe in servicing as many people as I possibly can, because what we do in creating these memories for people is very, very important. And maybe not everyone can afford a $3,500 wall portrait. So I try to bring my prices into a price point where I can service more people than just luxury clients by working a full-time week and by making those clients happy. And that's going to keep my studio busy, and the money coming in to me at the top. So on one of the other corners, obviously, is my client.
Right, right.
And then
I just want to, based on our conversation earlier, I just want people to understand that your business model, that you're moving more towards the volume side of things.
I am.
So instead of being, smaller volume, higher ticket, you're going more volume, more in the average space. Not low price, but average.
No,
price.
Definitely not low priced. And people that visit my website, they will see that I'm what I call a mid-range price.
So everything that you've designed in your business is about creating that volume type of process.
Yes.
Because it is very different. Those processes and the time involved are very, very different. So I just want people to be mindful of that as we're talking, because you can't have a boutique model at a volume price.
No, but you can have a boutique volume model at a mid-range price.
Yes, and
that's what makes it different. So, the third corner of the triangle for me is the community. So in doing volume work, you're actually working with the community. You're working with sports teams, you're working with schools, you're working with clubs, and often charities will get involved. So, having that component that satisfies the community element is also important to me, because that is also marketing and advertising for me.
And we're on the same page. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
People are always talking about, how do I get out there? How do I market?
So my volume photography came out of dance. And dance is typically a higher ticket volume product than, let's say, your traditional volume, which might be school portraits or a baseball team or a soccer team. The money that dance moms spend on training their little girls and guys to do ballet and jazz and tap and acro and go to competitions and spend the money on the costumes and the competition fees and the recital fees and studio rentals, and let's not even talk about point shoes, because my daughter, when she danced, it was an easy 10 grand a year, easy.
Wow.
And she danced for many, many years, and there are a lot of beautiful things that she benefited from dancing, but I could have easily had a Tesla in my driveway had I saved that money. Another story. But so from my dance photography, I've really created this boutique volume kind of mentality, where it's boutique in that I'm still giving my clients some personalized luxury experience, but it's volume in the sense that costs are shared among many people, which keeps the costs down to that middle of the road price range, and that allows me to service more people, which in turn turns into marketing.
And you have a fantastic mind for systems and processes. So
thank you.
Because we've talked about how you developed a system and a process so that your time is also kind of evened out over all of that. You've got a system in place to be efficient, and I think that's huge part of all.
Yeah, of I think that that has been refined over COVID as well. But yeah, it's one of the things that kind of happened was, I was already shooting mini sessions and fairies and, doing some grad sessions in the studio, family portraits, those types of things. And then I watched the education that PPA put on by the Blooms.
Philip and they're wonderful.
And this little light bulb went on and went like, I'm so close
Yeah.
to doing boutique volume with everything that I do. Why don't I just do that? Let's take, their model of mini sessions and bring that into the studio, and let's do 1 day a month of newborns and 1 day a month of first birthday shoots or cake smashes, and several days a month of family portraits. And we'll use this new price list that builds itself on incentives and see what happens. Well,
Yeah, I love that.
the very first shoot that I did with the new price list, the very first one was over $900. And it was just a mini session,
Right.
seriously.
Yeah.
Like it was a 20-minute mini session. And I thought, well, if I do this 10 times a day, this is going to be good. So next
Well,
session that I did
shoot.
was
Yeah.
30 minutes, $1,500. It
Yeah.
truly works. So, recommending out there, if anybody hasn't seen the webinars by the Blooms, go watch those. They're brilliant.
Yeah, they're
And
fantastic. They're
yeah,
great educators and great information.
yeah,
Um,
and it truly works, and it has continued like that, because I thought initially, well, maybe this won't be repeatable, but it was. Every single session that I've done
that's
has
awesome.
been a repeat of the last. And yeah, who's going to complain about making more money?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I love that too. Again, kind of going back to just back up one step, because I think
Yep,
getting to that place for you was also a bit of a thought process. You were very thoughtful and very intentional about choosing to do the things that you really love doing, right?
exactly.
And letting go of the things that you didn't. I mean, I think we all start off that way. I think we all,
Yep.
maybe not everybody. I know I did. I started off photographing everything because I felt like I
Yeah.
had to. I had to be a generalist. I had to know how to do everything. If it was a person, I should be able to know how to do it. But yeah, you're right. There are things that really are in our hearts to want to do, and then there's
Yeah.
things that we're like, oh, I could.
Well, I don't think that being a generalist is necessarily a bad thing. I think that as a professional photographer, you probably should know how to shoot just about everything and be able to go into any situation confidently to be able to
With a
shoot. So,
yeah, a good skill
yeah,
set, like a nice toolbox.
exactly. But wanting to shoot every single genre may not make you happy. So for me,
Right.
I do not like shooting boudoir. Not on my radar. I don't
Fair.
like it.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it anymore. I've done it. And I think that when you start up a photography business, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what you're going to like, what you don't, right?
Sure. Yeah, very.
So I've tried the boudoir. That does not make my palms sweat. Working with teenagers and high school seniors and dancers, I love it. Working with families, I love it. Doing artwork and Photoshop compositions, I love it. 1-year-olds, I love it. So there are a lot of different things that I discovered. Yes, I really like this, but let's take the things that I don't like off the table. Um, so what do we do to offer those ladies that want boudoir pictures at our studio? How do we offer them something that they can't get anywhere else? I offer pinup. I do get a big kick out of that. So we'll do pinup pictures, and again, in mini sessions with that mid-range price point, working my 40 hours a week. Um, and that makes me happy. And that 40 hours a week really plays into the idea of boundaries. And boundaries are something that I had to set over COVID, because there, if you look at Facebook and just start looking at photographers' Facebook pages, add up how many you see that say they're open 24 hours a day.
Really?
Hundreds and I would literally say thousands. I would say 9 out of 10 Facebook pages don't have set hours on the photography business. It says they're open 24/7. But when that phone goes ding at 3 in the morning and wakes up your husband, that's not cool.
Right.
That's not cool. It's not cool to
Well,
be,
it's an
yeah.
expectation too, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know that it's different during COVID. I think it might be more pronounced maybe during
Hmm.
COVID, but I do think that there is this one, we're in a relationship business and people feel like they're building a relationship with
Hmm.
you, which is great. But it also means that they feel like they have access to you all the time.
24/7. Yeah.
And so setting boundaries, like I know one of my boundaries was you cannot connect with me through Facebook. Like I didn't want to have another place I had to go check messages.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you need something that's business related, you've got to call this number,
Yeah.
Yeah. or send this email.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's like, well, I sent you an Instagram message, or I sent you a message through Facebook, or I, like you're like,
Twitter, LinkedIn,
can't.
yeah, Snapchat, email, phone. I
Right.
called your house. I looked you up in the phone book.
Hey, smoke signals, didn't you see them? Like no, I didn't. I can't.
Yeah, and for me, what I found was that one of my biggest sources of stress, which leads to anxiety and sometimes full-blown panic attacks,
Yeah.
are those people that are messaging me constantly, well, I had my pictures done yesterday. Can you just send me one or two? No, not yet.
Right.
But it puts the pressure on, and as a result, I don't feel good or in a good mental health place. So that boundary needed to be established.
So what's great about that too is that kind of feeds into your systems and processes. So when
Yeah.
people know what your systems and processes are, then it does define those boundaries. I think much
Yeah.
more for you.
And I think that starts with your Google business, which is a whole other story, but I believe that Google business is a very important place for photographers to be. Set that up. It's like its own little mini website that will generate referrals for you. But you can start by putting your hours there. Put your hours on your Facebook page. Put your hours on your website. You can set up automatic messages for your emails and for your messenger, those sorts of things that say, thank you for contacting us. I understand you're excited about pictures and we'll be back to you during these hours.
Yeah. It also
And
shows that you know what you're doing, and that you have an expectation, and that you do have a process.
yeah,
And for me, having a process, what ends up happening is that people respect you so much more. They respect you, they respect your time, because you're very thoughtful. I mean, people will push you around if you let them.
well, it's only been 6 months since COVID, so I'm hoping that you're right about that. you know, but like I said, I feel that those are things that I had to implement for my own mental health, and I think that probably I'm not the only one out there that has people messaging them at 10 and 11 o'clock at night and feeling frustrated or anxious because these contacts are coming in
Yeah, there's
at those hours.
all of these studies. I was on a webinar this past week, and they were talking about emotional intelligence, but they were talking about in that a whole series of studies that they've been doing on stress levels since we've been at home, and the different things that we're doing well and the things that we're not doing so well.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting. Like 44% of the people feel more stressed right now, more anxiety, more depression. And I want to say, like, the things that we're doing well, like we're kinder to others, but we're harder on ourselves. So to me, like, that's a big red flag
Mhm. Mhm.
that says, let's find ways to be kinder to ourselves in our business while we're working on our business. So
Mhm.
oftentimes we talk about giving ourselves grace to just be a mess, right? To
Mhm.
just not have to have a to-do list in this moment, because sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah, you know what? And on those days, yeah, on those days, it helps to just stick your head in the clothes dryer and scream because the acoustics are amazing. Yeah, they really are. It's just,
I love that. But on the days that you're ready to, like, get back in and do something, the idea that you can actually
I think you've frozen.
that you can actually take care of yourself, by creating systems and processes that are going to make your life better moving forward in your business, very specific to your business, I think is healthy to do right now. Which is why I really was excited to chat with you today, Nancy, because from our conversation, last week, just talking about how you re-envisioned your business, and kind of redefined what's possible and set these new boundaries with your clients. I just feel like that's so encouraging, to everyone who's watching. So Nancy, are there any other, as we're wrapping this up and kind of pulling all this together, are there any other little nuggets of inspiration you would share with our audience?
Yeah, I think what I do is kind of do a little bit of a checklist. Okay, and the first thing on the checklist would be sit down and reevaluate your business so that you are using your strengths shooting what you love, and servicing as many people as you possibly can, as well as servicing yourself, both mentally and financially and physically, so that your business brings you joy. And bringing yourself joy means keeping your mental health in check as well. And that's just like cleaning the alligators out of your swamp. And again, shooting what you love. For me, uh, there's a couple of little things that I like to do. I like to surprise and delight one customer a week. It doesn't have to be every day, but one little special thing for a good client, whether it's a phone call or send them, an extra digital image, or make up a little, 2021 calendar with their child's picture on it that they can put on their desktop. But something like that to surprise your clients goes a long way, again, towards marketing and giving them joy, and that in turn brings me joy. And one of my favorite quotes is that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction any day of the week.
I love
So,
that.
baby steps.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something to be said about doing kind things for other people. That's one of those steps that they
freezing up again
to get you out of depression is to do kind things. And so that those small acts of service, I think, are really, really important. And that perfect thing, gosh, I think we all fall into that. If you're a small business owner, I think you fall into that perfectionist realm because you want to do everything just right.
And especially as artists, right? We're all striving for that perfect piece of art all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Nancy, I so enjoy chatting with you. I know you're going to be an inspiration to our people watching this, and then we've got some fun things planned with you in the education department. So we're going to be hearing more from you. So I'm excited about that, and we're going to get to see you at Imaging USA. So we're super excited about the presentation you have planned for us for that as well. So
yeah, can't wait.
It's going to be awesome. Thank you. We appreciate you so much, and look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Nancy.